AOC just used the House floor to lie about Charlie Kirk. I'm going to show you her statement in full context, and then I'm going to show you what Charlie Kirk actually said. AOC just couldn't wait to get out there and spread more hatred and division amongst the American people.
Today's resolution only underscores the majority's recklessness by choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy with one of the many bipartisan options to condemn political violence and Kirk's murder, as we did with the late Melissa Hortman. Instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake.
AOC, a member of the United States House of Representatives, just said that Charlie Kirk believed that the Civil Rights Act, which she states gave Black Americans the right to vote, which it didn't, but that Charlie Kirk believed it was a mistake. First of all, the Civil Rights Act did not give Black Americans the right to vote. It ended segregation and discrimination, both of which were byproducts of the Democrat Party, which pushed Jim Crow laws after Black Americans were given the right to vote from the 15th Amendment in 1870, not the Civil Rights Act. This woman is a member of the House of Representatives. The Civil Rights Act and the 15th Amendment are no small things. She's not a middle schooler or a high schooler. The fact that she even made this statement alone, I think, should disqualify her from continuing on as a representative. But those who vote for her from the 14th District of New York, I very highly doubt are going to care or even see this. But then she goes on to say that Charlie Kirk actually believed the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Tries to tie it to voting for Black people so that people in the United States will see this and the hatred and division will continue on. But what did Charlie Kirk actually say?
You said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so the parts of the Civil Rights Act were great, but the way it's now being implemented to force men in female bathrooms, to push forward of the trans agenda, the intent of the Civil Rights Act is way beyond what it was originally authored for.
But the intent specifically originally was to...
Well, that's interesting. So the intent and the law are two different things. So the intent was noble, which was to say that no American can be not allowed into a place of business based on the color of their skin or their ethnic heritage. Totally agreement with that. That's not what the law only did. It created a massive anti-racist DEI army that then gave us affirmative action. For example, recently Merrick Garland sued using the Civil Rights Act, saying that we cannot have voter ID in certain states because it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act. So basically what the Civil Rights Act did is that it went beyond disparate impact and then went to disparate effect. In the sense where if Black Americans are not doing as well as white Americans in a certain category, you can now use the Civil Rights Act and say that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act, even though there might be other contributing factors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's too broad, too wide, and it's now doing a lot of damage to the country. It's being used well beyond its original intent.
Charlie Kirk said that many parts of the Civil Rights Act were actually great. You know which parts? The parts that ended racial segregation and discrimination. However, he also believed that it is currently misused and abused by allowing men to go into women's bathrooms. And the trans agenda, men being able to dominate women in women's sports. You think AOC even cares about the context or the reality of Charlie Kirk's actual words, his actual thoughts? She could care less. All this woman wants to do is cause more division and more hate, and she couldn't even wait more than a little over a week to spread lies like this about a man who was just assassinated. And it's not just AOC. This is a Democrat Party platform issue. Here's Representative Ilhan Omar on CNN.
I just think it was the video where it called him Dr. Frankenstein and said his monster shot him through the neck. I mean, obviously this is a person, and looking at this is someone who was a husband and a father, and in the days after his shocking death, that happened as a result of his views, or it happened as a result as he was sharing his views publicly with people, that people found it jarring to hear such criticism of that in the immediate aftermath of
what
someone's death.
I find jarring is that there's so many people willing to excuse the most reprehensible things that he said, that they agree with that they're willing to have monuments for him, that they want to create a day to honor him, and that they want to produce resolutions in the House of Congress honoring his life and legacy. It is one thing to care about his life, because obviously so many people loved him, including his children and wife. But I am not going to sit here and be judged for not wanting to honor any legacy this man has left behind. That should be in the dustbin of history, and we should hopefully move on and forget the hate that he spewed every single day.
Do you notice in her statement there, she says things like the reprehensible things that he said, yet she doesn't give one example. This is something that Democrats and Democratic leadership do all the time, which once again leads to the violence that we are seeing. And by the way, one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk's mission was to go out onto college campuses, one of the major places where indoctrination was occurring of these young individuals, to try to share some truth with them, because truth was never being shared with them. If you ever watched Charlie Kirk's debates with many of these younger students, they never really had specific examples. And that's one of the things he would always ask. Okay, I recognize your thought on this topic. I get it. Can you cite one example of this? And almost never. I can't even remember one time when somebody really cited an actual example. And this is the reason why. Because you have a representative like Ilhan Omar who goes out there and just says what she wants. He spewed reprehensible rhetoric. Wait, what? Name one thing, find something. The man was out there for years. You can absolutely find something. And please don't try to take some 2-second segment out of context. Show the entire thing, because Charlie Kirk was not reprehensible. Charlie Kirk loved America, and he loved Americans, all different types of Americans, all different colors. He loved America. He was kind and caring, and he opened up his platform not to do what AOC and Ilhan Omar do, which is to lie and spread hate, but he opened his platform to allow people to speak and to share their opinions and to share their thoughts. These young students never had an opportunity like this to literally speak in front of a camera that's going to reach potentially millions of people. Charlie Kirk wanted them to be able to do this. And then for everyone to listen and make up their minds as they pleased. But the Democrat Party right now, only 2 weeks after the assassination of this man, are using their platform to once again push the lies and deceit and rhetoric and hatred that caused this assassination. And I can guarantee you the clips are going to be rounding TikTok and the shorts and the reels that the young people of America are watching without context or explanation. They're not going to see my video or other videos from those who are sharing the truth in context. And they're going to see this, and it's going to birth more hatred and more division in their hearts. And then it's going to lead to more violence and attempts like we saw happen to Charlie Kirk.